For as long as I can remember, I always wanted to join the military. And when I was about 10, I decided I wanted to be a pilot. So my parents were very involved with us in our activities growing up. Knowing at a young age that he had been in the army, and I mean, because we were always watching John Wayne movies at home and war movies, and I think that just kind of made me want to do it more, knowing that he had served, and so I wanted to serve. Kind of, he was in high school when World War II started. He graduated high school in 1943. I know when he enlisted, along with a lot of other his classmates, he wanted to go into the Army Air Force. His brother, Carl, was in the Army Air Force. His other older brother had already enlisted and was going in. Out of his four brothers who all enlisted, he was the only one that saw combat out of all of them. So, but anyhow, he had enlisted in the Civil Air Patrol and was in that. And I mean, because they had such a vast number of people enlisting all the time, it was a slow call up. And he had put in for the cadet aviation program, so he wanted to be a pilot. And while he was in basic training and getting ready for the cadet pilot program, he had marked on his application that he had stuttered when he was a child. And his story was always that, they called him in, they gave him this great big long word that he had never heard before, and of course, as he says, he stuttered trying to pronounce it. And they told him, sorry, as a pilot, you've got to be able to call things out quickly, you can't stutter, so we can't make you a pilot. So they made him a gunner on bombers instead, which was basically doing the same thing. Most of his missions were in the Austria, Czechoslovakia, and Yugoslavia area and everything. So went through, like I said, caught the last couple months of World War II. War ended. He flew back. He mustered out on November 27th, 1945, which I thought was very funny because that was my birthday. Quite a few years later, of course. The highest award he got was the Air Medal for the missions that he flew. For as long as I can remember, I always wanted to join the military. And when I was about 10, I decided I wanted to be a pilot. So everything I did in high school, going up through, was to get to pilot training. Initially, I did everything, got accepted to the Air Force Academy. Then I had an Army recruiter call me on the phone. Air Force was the way I wanted to go. I mean, kind of through what my dad was, and everything. And another recruiter looked at me and goes, well, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to be an officer and I want to fly. And they said, warrant officer flight. And I said, what the heck is that? Went to basic training in August of, 1987. And then went to the Warrant Officer Flight Program at Fort Rucker, Alabama in October of 87. Graduated flight school in December of 88. While I was at Fort Bragg, I went to, deployed to Bosnia in 1997. It was after the Yugoslavia had broke up, and between Croatia, Bosnia, and Serbia, there was a lot of fighting going on amongst them of who was in charge and all that stuff. It was very, very religious based. Came back from that, was on orders to go to Germany. Ended up not going to Germany. I was down at Fort Rucker going through advanced schooling, and they said, we're going to keep you here at Rucker and make you an instructor pilot. So I got stuck at Rucker for 5 years. Got promoted to W4, so I became one of the rare breed. And after Rucker, went to Korea for a year. coming out of Korea, you pretty much have your choice of where you want to go. Decided wanted to go to Fort Stewart, Georgia, which is in Savannah, Georgia, which is a really nice place. Well, after I made that decision and got orders, I found out that 5-6 months after I was showing up there, we were going to Iraq. Ended up going to Iraq January of 05 through January of 06. And flew down. We were trying to, get eyes on and trying to figure out what was going on. And we're sitting there, and you can hear the rounds going by the aircraft, and we're like, okay, we start juking and jiving a bit. We see where the guys are shooting at, so we try to put down some fire to get them to stop, because it was kind of hard to see if those were actual ones, and there was a lot of people around. So then all of a sudden, soon after that, my wingman actually, his aircraft got shot, took out some electrical stuff, nothing big. So we were still in the fight. These guys, we fired a couple 10-round bursts at them. They got in the car, started taking off. We chased after them. I put 30 rounds into the car. As we were peeling off and coming back around, all of a sudden you hear this really loud, bang thing, and I'm like, I had been working the system and hear it, and I'm like, what the heck was that? And I look up, I got a bullet hole right here in the canopy, and I look across, and there's 3 holes right over here in the canopy. I'm like, while I was in Iraq, I went over 20 years of active service, and so I was trying to decide if I wanted to stay in, if I wanted to retire. So basically, 2.5 years away from my family. I wanted someplace I would have some family time. And branch manager said, no, you're not going anywhere, and I can guarantee you 12 months in the States before you redeploy to Iraq again. And I said, thank you very much, my retirement paperwork's coming in. So I retired in November of 06 after 21 years of active duty between the Air Force and the Army. Just him having been in the military, I think, just made it a little more of something I really wanted to do. And I think him having been in the Army Air Force and in flight was why I wanted to become a pilot. And that's why, people that actually, want to go into the military, it's not just because that's what their parents did or something. It is kind of a calling, or a strong desire to serve, just like the people that are policemen or firemen. They, it's something in them. My dad having gone through that, it just kind of made it more. And as we were growing up, he really did not talk much about it. He would have little stories here and there. It wasn't until I got in that I kind of heard some more in detail of the stories. And as through my career, I slowly got more and more detail of some of the stories and stuff. So.